SeniorLivingGuide.com podcast discusses topics which are relevant to the everyday lives of seniors and their caregivers. We are joined by experts who share their knowledge on a variety of issues. SeniorLivingGuide.com podcast offers solutions and resources to create the best quality of life as we age. And now, let's welcome your host, Darlene Mahoney.
Does the idea of searching for senior housing solutions seem overwhelming and you're not even sure where to begin? SeniorLivingGuide.com makes senior housing search, home care, home health, as well as many resources available to you right at your fingertips in one easy to navigate website. So visit us today at SeniorLivingGuide.com. And I would like to express our gratitude to the SeniorLivingGuide.com podcast sponsors, Terabella Senior Living, where seniors unlock a richer, more rewarding lifestyle for assisted living and memory care in a warm, welcoming environment. And Live Dry adult incontinence products designed for moderate to severe incontinence issues. Live Dry provides reliable all-day and all-night protection. Quick absorbing, high capacity, and odor control helps you feel more confident when you wear Live Dry. And today we are joined by Lisa Johnson. She's been a guest on our podcast multiple times, bringing incredible information, and she is here with us again. She has been a dietitian for 40 years, working in many areas of nutrition spectrum, including critical care nutrition, veterans health, long-term care, director of food services, diabetes care, eating disorders, and most recently, medically tailored meals and menu development for Homestyle Direct. And we have a bonus this episode. We have Kelly Hansen. She'll be joining us as well. She is the owner of S&S Nutrition Network, which provides registered dietitian clinical and food services consulting to healthcare, senior living, and residential living facilities and meal programs across the country. She has over 25 years of acute care, long-term care, rehabilitation care, senior living, and child nutrition programs. I am super excited to have both you ladies on the episode today because we're going to talk about something that is changing. It's really breaking down the latest USDA dietary guidelines when it is referring to the best interests of seniors.
Good to be here.
Thank you for joining us. Yeah, absolutely. It's all about really eating well after 60, and what nutritionists they recommend, and how it's changed in the guidelines, because we had some big guideline changes this year, but really how it affects seniors practically. Yes?
Yes. And one of the, I guess, misconceptions maybe as we age is that we tend to focus on, say, memory loss, or we focus on chronic disease, or we focus on whether the person is frail and might fall and break their hip. In reality, all of those things that we focus on, which are important as you age, have their root in nutrition. So frailty can be, let's say, because maybe a person has osteoporosis, not getting enough calcium and vitamin D. Maybe they're dehydrated, not getting enough fluid, not enough protein in their diet. So at the end of the day, really how well a senior ages is tied directly to the nutrition and diet and what they're eating. So your needs go down in terms of total calories required, but your nutrient needs specific to protein or fluid or vitamins or minerals actually increase.
Yeah, so it does make a difference as you age. Your nutrition needs change.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I think that that's something we really need to recognize when we're, reviewing like the new USDA guidelines, that some of the guidelines might be a little bit, they might vary based on the needs of an older adult.
One of the things that I'd like to add too is as we age and our nutrient needs change, we also have some physical changes going on, like our metabolism slows down and our appetite declines and our taste buds and our senses may diminish. And so these two increased needs and changes that our bodies are getting used to um, means that every bite counts.
Yeah.
And
It's like
we need to.
two worlds collide, right?
Exactly.
Yes. Yes. And the metabolism totally changes. I'm sure it does for both men and women. I really don't know if it does for men, but I know 110% it does for women. So I think that that's something to recognize as well. And I know sometimes seniors, elderly people, especially more frail people, they seem to, they tend to eat less. It seems like they'll nibble on something and they're good to go.
Yeah. I had a good example of that yesterday. I went to a community senior center and had lunch with seniors and watched them nibble on their food and
Yeah.
some left half their plate and some took some home for later, but
Yeah.
compared to someone our age, you know they may be eating half the quantity that they used to.
Yeah, for sure. I remember my dad when my dad loved chicken wings. He loved all the things my mom told him not to eat. So I will tell you, if she went on vacation or she wasn't home for dinner, he was up at Publix getting chicken wings or going to Popeyes or all the different things, all the stuff he wasn't supposed to be eating. And he, after my mom passed, so he was making his own food choices without you know any pushback. He could eat a lot, but as his dementia, in all honesty, progressed, the way that he was able to eat severely diminished. It was quite evident that he was having issues with eating larger portions.
The other thing that happens as we age is life happens. And so there are
Yeah,
things like, say, the death of a spouse, or maybe you lose your driver's license or you no longer want to drive. And so your ability to get to the grocery store to buy foods,
Hmm.
especially healthy foods to make, and or the
yeah,
fact that you're eating alone, and so cooking for one, all impacts a person's ability to prepare and eat and be happy eating. And so
yeah.
sometimes things as simple as being able to eat with others or having someone come into the home to share that experience are certainly helpful in increasing intake.
Yeah. So, Kelly, tell me a little bit about what the new dietary guidelines for Americans actually suggest, because I haven't dove into it a lot, but I do know that protein is one that has been highlighted more so than it did in the past. I would love for them to say carbs, go all carbs all day long, but I know that the protein got a little bit. I'm living in a dream world. So, but yeah, so as far as like, the recommendations, how has that been suggested?
So with the new dietary guidelines, there is a recommendation to prioritize high quality protein. And this, for most Americans and even most seniors, we've had a higher protein diet for quite some time. And some people, this means that won't change. And others, maybe that a senior that does have a diminished appetite and does have some of the things that we were just discussing, really does need to focus on making sure they're including protein at every meal. And it may be very easy to do so at lunch or dinner. It may be different if someone was just eating like a cereal for breakfast or something like that. So we want to focus on including a variety of animal and plant-based proteins and mixing it up from day
Yeah.
to day. One of the other elements of the guidelines is to minimize some processed foods. And so some of our protein choices in the morning maybe some of those processed foods, and by mixing it up we can incorporate some things that may traditionally be eaten at breakfast like eggs and Greek yogurt, and we can also incorporate some things that we're not used to eating at breakfast. So when I visited San Antonio, I loved that they served beans for breakfast because it was something I wasn't used to, but I realized, hey, I really like this. And I'm going to do that at home from, sometimes. So high quality protein is a key emphasis. The second thing that the new dietary guidelines suggest for us is to choose those nutrient dense foods. When we talked about every bite counting for seniors, we got to make sure every bite has the nutrients we need. So, of course, this comes back to fruits and vegetables and whole grains. And uh, our serving sizes in the dietary guidelines went up and the required quantities went down, but it still means that we're looking to try to get 3 cups of vegetables into our daily intake and 1.5 to 2 cups of fruit into our daily intake. And that takes effort and it takes um, concentration. So if we skip vegetables at breakfast and maybe even skip them at lunch because we have a sandwich, we're going to have a tough time getting them all in the day. So looking for a variety of colors and textures that really make eating those vegetables and enjoying those vegetables a great thing for us.
Yeah. And to me, that doesn't sound like a lot. It does sound like, portions that if it's for the entire day, I think that you can pretty much get that in a meal. I think that that's pretty nice. But it is, I think a lot of times, especially with seniors, it is the planning, it is the grocery shopping, it is all the
Mm-hmm.
things that make it I don't want to say a job, but it makes it more work that maybe they just would rather have something that's just easy to do. And it's just turnkey because they are maybe cooking for one, or they may have some physical disabilities that make standing up and working in a kitchen uncomfortable. Or in some cases, they may have cooked for their family for years and years, didn't really enjoy it, and they're good to go on not to continue. So
Yeah.
there's a variety of reasons for sure. But I did want to mention, I really like the fact that you mentioned plant-based, because I think that when people are thinking protein, that they have to go, all in on meat, animal based. But plant is absolutely a fabulous option. And I know that one way that I get, some of my protein is with the yogurt and some different things that have, I buy peanut butter bars that have high protein, those types of things. So there are different options. And I think that's really important to know that you don't have to go like chow down on a hamburger every single day, because that's probably not the
Yeah.
best idea.
Well, and with our, some of the proteins like the peanut butter, even dairy like cottage cheese or the Greek yogurt, those are all easy proteins to consume because they don't take a lot of preparation. So
Mm-hmm.
that's something that seniors can have a little bit of and have a variety of items. There's other plant-based items that are quick to prepare too, and a lot of times we don't think of them, but like lentils is a great example where you can have lentils either as a side dish or as a main entree, such as a lentil taco or a lentil pilaf or things like that, and you can prepare those in under 30 minutes. So it's something else that is also affordable and easy to have as a staple on the shelf in the pantry.
I like that. Affordable and easy. Those are two great combinations. So, yeah, that's perfect. And I don't know that I've ever cooked lentils, so I'm going to have to look into that.
Yeah, there's some
So,
great YouTube videos to to check it
YouTube,
out.
I will tell you, I everything I cook anymore comes off of some kind of a video of sorts. So, because I'm not a good cook, I don't particularly enjoy it, and I can do a recipe, and then it still somehow it doesn't taste or look like it does. So I get where you can watch the videos and it's very specific, so it's harder to mess up. So I do appreciate that. As far as micros and fluid and fiber. So we're talking about like the basic nutrients, Lisa. Is that kind of what those would be considered?
So fiber and fluid probably don't fall into the micronutrients, but they are terribly important. they're not a macronutrient either. So fluid, generally we calculate that the average adult over 65 may be upwards of 50% deficient in their fluid requirements for the day. So 6 to 8 glasses of water is what's recommended. A glass typically being an 8-ounce portion, so about 64 ounces. Um, Coffee and tea don't really fall in that count because they are diuretics and they cause dehydration and make it worse. Not that you can't have those things, but you're really looking for a 0-calorie fluid source for those 6 to 8 glasses. And then you can factor in juices and other beverages on top of that. So that's a lot. And even as a younger, older adult, I have to be mindful of that, so filling some type of a water bottle, I always have my Nalgene bottle with me, so that, I've got to drink 2 of those in a day, so that you don't feel like you have to drink it all at one time, but you're keeping track of the amount that you're getting in. Highly important, probably 30 to 50% of hospitalizations in the older adult have some tie to dehydration and fluid imbalance. Um, so that's really important. And then you have to factor in, like your geography and what you're doing. So if you're hiking out in the Mojave Desert, you're going to the beach for the day, you're out and about taking a power walk, you need to make sure they have extra fluid on board. As far as fiber goes, fiber was one of the things that was really not emphasized in the new dietary guidelines. But fiber needs are critically important. And there are a lot of different online fiber calculators that you can go into, plug in your age, your gender, whatever, and actually calculate out what the recommendation is for you. Generally speaking, for someone over 65, we're shooting for about 30 grams, somewhere between 25 and 35 grams a day. And we figure that in that age population, they're probably getting 50% or less of what they need. So being mindful and aware of the foods that you're eating and the fiber content of those foods is really important. But fiber in the older adult, in combination with fluid needs, can affect things like constipation, stool impaction. Increased fiber will help to offset and manage things like diabetes and heart disease because the fiber flushes cholesterol, flushes blood sugar through the system and keeps you more balanced. So really important, those 2 things. And then we talk about micronutrients. So we talk about things like B12, which is necessary for brain health. We talk about magnesium, which is also necessary for brain health and for solid sleep habits. Calcium, vitamin D, both important for bone health. So there are some targeted micronutrients that are really important in the older adult, and making sure that you have a colorful diet and a varied diet, that you're including all the food groups, that you're not, eliminating, let's say, all fats because you've heard fats are bad, because there's essential fatty acids that are important. And so a healthy amount of fats is also a good thing in the diet.
If you or someone you care for is dealing with moderate to heavy incontinence, you've experienced products that leak, and that is never acceptable. Live Dry products combine high capacity with fast absorption and a secure fit to help eliminate leaks and improve comfort, even during extended wear. With Live Dry, it's protection you can trust.
Thousands of positive reviews on Amazon can't be wrong. Search LIVDRY on Amazon. Live Dry products are available at Amazon.com and Walmart.com.
At Terra Bella Senior Living, seniors unlock a richer, more rewarding lifestyle for assisted living and memory care, offering daily activities, homestyle dining, and 24-hour care in a warm, welcoming environment. Tour today to see the comfort and care we offer at Terra Bella.
Yeah. So I will tell you, I drink a ton of water. I drink a ton of coffee in the morning. And by the time I'm done doing that, I am really thirsty, and I am thirsty the rest of the day. And that's pretty much all that I drink. And I found, as you mentioned, I I avoided the trend of the Stanley, and I know that there's different exact same styles, different brands, but that has been a game changer for me because I get the big one, I fill it up, and all day long I drink and drink and drink. So it's, if you've got it like right there and it's handy, you're more apt, I think, than if you have to go and get glasses of water. I think then that's when you'll fail on that. I did have a question on the fiber. What are some good examples of high fiber as far as types of food?
So
I'll take
go ahead,
that one,
Kelsey.
Lisa, because I skipped over whole grains earlier. And one key element of these new dietary guidelines is that the requirement for grains actually decreased, but the encouragement of whole grains increased. So the recommendations are 2 to 4 servings of grains per day, but we need to emphasize those whole grains. That's the whole wheat or whole grain breads or baked goods, it's brown rice, it's whole grain pastas, and things like that. And some of our seniors are very used to eating whole grain bread or whole wheat bread because they grew up on it, and some
Yeah.
have become accustomed to, the refined grains are their favorites. But that the whole grains combined with our fruits and our vegetables are really our best sources of fiber. And even little tricks like, eating the skins on fruits and vegetables, eating the, some of the, rather than the perfect little broccoli stems, eating florets, eating some of the stems and eating some of the, including beans in our diets that have a high source of fiber. All of those things can help us increase that fiber content. And it's something that we should evolve over some time. You don't want to go from what Lisa was saying of eating half the amount of fiber on one day to the full amount of fiber on the next day, or it's going to cause some GI distress. But
Yeah.
increasing the amount of fiber we eat on a weekly basis does help us to achieve that goal of the 25 to 35 grams of fiber, and seniors will see a noticeable effect when it comes to relief of constipation and feeling of fullness and better blood sugar control.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. So Lisa, you mentioned the fiber calculator. So I just did want to mention to our listeners, I'm going to include that link in the description so that they can easily access that. So I think that'll be really great. I think that's something that, if you can look at it and kind of see what those needs are, it kind of can help you.
Well, and so as far as fiber goes, there's some simple things you could do too. If you, let's say you like to have yogurt in the morning or you're making a smoothie, you can add chia seeds, you can add some fresh berries to, say, a smoothie. All of those things are going to increase the fiber content of the item that you're eating. Generally, the recommendation is don't change more than 3 to 5 grams of fiber per week. So let's say you're eating 15 now, shoot over the week to get to 20, then to 25. And make sure as you're doing that you're getting adequate fluid, because it will help with constipation unless you're not getting extra fluid in your diet, in which case it may make the constipation worse.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So I did want to ask you this question. What are your thoughts? I know that my grandmother used to take, I think, not Mucinex. What is it?
Metamucil.
Metamucil. Thank you. I was going to say, I know it's not Mucinex, but something very similar. Is that something that you can utilize to fill in the gaps? Is that something that's recommended if you're struggling to get the fiber naturally through your food?
Sure. And Metamucil comes in a variety of different ways. You can take a capsule, you can get a powder, generally some type of flavor, like a orange flavor that you drink a glass of a day. Don't go hog wild on Metamucil and increase the fiber in your diet, because you're doing double duty there. but it certainly
Okay.
is a way to increase to, like you said, fill in the gaps and give somebody an extra serving of fiber in a day.
Perfect. Perfect. So I did love the fact that you mentioned the calcium, vitamin D, and B12, because as I've started getting older, I've started definitely adding those in to my diet. And then also, um, the magnesium for sleep. That's been a game changer for me. So anyone listening that's having some like sleep, either waking up at the middle of the night or they're just not getting a good quality sleep, I will tell you that is something that's really made a big difference with me with the magnesium. But I did want to ask you, so I know that which magnesium is it? Because I feel like there's multiple magnesiums and one might have more stuff that's not just specifically for sleep, or do you recommend a magnesium that's got the different
So I
ingredients?
believe that the current recommended, as far as magnesium is just a vitamin, is magnesium glycinate, is
Okay.
the type of magnesium to take. But anymore, magnesium is being added to so many different things. So I went to a natural food show about 3 weeks ago, and the new thing, and I was actually really surprised that I liked it, is mushroom coffee. Um,
Mushroom what?
Coffee. So it's
Oh, coffee. Yes.
coffee that is made from mushrooms,
Mhm.
and tends to have added magnesium in it. Uh, I was surprised that it didn't taste like mushrooms. It to me, it's a softer coffee flavor,
Mhm.
but still has the coffee. And then there are some different sleep beverages, I guess, if you will, that include extra magnesium. But I would always offer up that probably the best way to do this is to do it naturally, to do it in foods that you include. Magnesium is high in nuts and grains. Nuts, it tends to come from plant-based things as opposed to coming from animal food. Um,
Mhm.
Tends to be in chocolate. So, and not that I'm encouraging eating a bunch of chocolate, but if you are a dark chocolate lover, and you want to have a chocolate bite before you go to bed, that may actually be a sleep help.
Wow, because I always think chocolate caffeine, so I avoid anything with chocolate in
Yeah.
the afternoon. But I'm not a lover of dark chocolate. It's a little bitter for me.
Neither
So is there a difference between
There,
dark and
in terms of heart health, there is a difference between chocolate and milk chocolate. I'm right with you.
okay?
But Guttard at this food show is now has a line of what they call less intense dark chocolate. So they have 4 different Guttard baking chocolates that are milk dark, is what they essentially are. So they're dark, but like 45% dark. And they are actually quite tasty. So for those of us that like to bake, that may be an option, is to do something that's kind of a mix between the two.
No, I love that. It's a hybrid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Really, chocolate covered raisins are the only thing I can really manage with the dark chocolate. It just cuts that raisin cuts it. So I'm pretty good to go there. So we've talked about the things that we should be eating, and how, the benefits of those. What are some things, Kelly, that we should not be eating or should minimize, I should say?
One of the things we want to look at is the sugar and the sodium content of our foods. And so definitely want to look for added sugar on the nutrition facts labels of the products we buy. So we've talked about yogurt a few times during this
Mhm.
podcast, and all yogurts are not made equally. So
No.
we want to look at, not only the protein content we were talking about, but what the added sugar content is. And the dietary guidelines recommend less than 10 grams of sugar per meal, which I think for a lot of seniors and a lot of Americans, that's a lofty goal to work towards. I don't think we're going to get there overnight.
I
But,
agree with you there.
taking a glance at that added sugar of the yogurt and, comparing one that maybe has 16 or 18 grams of added sugar to finding one that has less than 10 grams of added sugar, while still having a flavor that you enjoy, is a good idea. Same thing with cereals, or even our peanut butter that we talked about, looking at the added sugar of the peanut butter and choosing a lower sugar variety. One of our keenest senses in seniors is their sweetness sense. So they do enjoy sweetness, but we want to have some, but not too much is really what we're looking for. So finding the flavor without all the added sugar, and the same applies for the sodium content. We recommendations, whether you're talking about dietary guidelines or the American Heart Association, are in the 2,000 to 2,300 milligrams per day. On average, probably most Americans eat about 4,000 milligrams a day. So there's room for people to try to reduce the sodium content. And I'm talking more than just, adding salt at the table, just the content in our food. So looking at those, and if you're buying cottage cheese, comparing labels. If you're buying, high sodium items like canned soup is a good example. Looking for a lower sodium variety, or considering trying to make that soup at home to control that. Same things with our snack foods. The sodium content can vary widely there. One of the best recommendations I can give there is when you're flavoring food, because seniors need flavor, looking at the herbs, the spices, and things that have, acidic flavors like vinegars and lemon juice and other items, that way to get the flavor they crave without the sodium content.
Oh, interesting. I never thought about that. That's a really good recommendation.
Yeah, that sharp taste of the acids, whether it's lemon or vinegar, really gives a lot of good taste to our vegetables or our salads or things like that, without, having to add a high sodium, either salt or dressing or something like that.
Right, right. I wanted to go back to the yogurt. So is there a difference? And I don't know the answer to this at all, but I enjoy Greek yogurt. So is there a benefit to a Greek yogurt versus, is there something special about that?
Greek yogurts generally have about double the protein content. So
That's why I pick it. So,
Yeah.
but the sugar, it just varies by brand, maybe?
It varies by brand and variety. So there are some Greek yogurts. Plain Greek yogurt has no added sugar, or very, very little. There's some brands that have very little, 1, 2, or 3 grams of sugar. There's also some brands that may have, 20 plus grams of sugar, depending on, what's been added from a flavor perspective. So they're all not created equal, and we got lots of choices in the grocery aisle to compare.
And I think you kind of gear towards one that's got more flavor. So you go, oh, I'm going to get the one with fruit. And it's turnkey, open it and you've got your fruit. But I think it's really beneficial to just add your own fruit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Versus, because that's a lot more sugar.
Yeah. And our own fruit, like the blueberries or strawberries, those are natural. They don't have this added sugar that we're talking about. Right. Whereas the fruit that's added to yogurt may be a combination of the fruit plus a fruit syrup or something like that too.
Yeah. Well, and then you could add delicious.
You could add chia seeds. You could sweeten it with a little bit of honey or agave. You could add vanilla to it to give it a little kick. If you want to go the savory route, I had a wonderful savory breakfast sample at a food show on Wednesday, where they did yogurt and then they put peanut butter mixed with balsamic vinegar and some pea shoots and chia seeds in it. So you got all the fiber, you got all the savory and sweet flavors going on there, and you've got the increased dairy. It was really tasty.
Yeah. I'm so glad you brought up the chia seeds because I know that that's been something in the past that we've talked about, and I always forget about it. I feel like if I just buy it and put it in my pantry, then I'm going to be using it more often because it does work with a lot of different things.
It has 300 milligrams of magnesium per like half cup of chia seeds. Not that you would ever use a half cup of chia seeds in anything, but I mean that a spoonful of chia in whatever you're eating is going to increase your magnesium significantly in that food item.
Yeah. No, I appreciate. Yeah, too many chia seeds, you'd be picking them out of
Yeah,
your teeth,
yeah.
I think. So that could be problematic. So I do want to go ahead and wrap this up, but I wanted to mention one of the things that I think is important, especially with our seniors. A lot of times they're living alone or they're eating by themselves. And I think that that's probably when they're eating less and maybe eating less healthy. So I think it's important if you're a caregiver for senior or if you have seniors in your family to include them in the dinners that you're eating, because I think when you eat, sometimes you eat because it's social. So you may be eating at a restaurant and you're talking and things are going on. So you're just eating and you're not even like, it doesn't become a chore. It becomes part of an experience.
Yeah, the socialization part of eating is so valuable to seniors. So whether, like you said, eating with family or, bringing the neighborhood, single seniors together or widowed seniors to eat together, or even like we did in the pandemic, jumping on a Zoom or a Teams call and eating with family and chatting while we eat are all helpful things. And I will put a plug in here for the community congregate meals and senior centers too, to get out and talk with friends and meet new people. And they all have to follow the new dietary guidelines as well and the meals that they offer too. So it's a good opportunity to get some fruits and vegetables and protein and everything we've just discussed.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. Is there anything else that we missed that you two ladies wanted to share?
I think food is, still one of the pleasures of our life, and so I encourage seniors to, even if it's seems like it's a chore or mundane, to mix it up and find ways to keep it interesting, because our food is something that we can look forward to while we're nourishing ourselves.
That's a fantastic note to end on. Absolutely. I do, for our listeners, want to share, and I'll let Lisa start. Homestyle Direct is partnered with the SeniorLivingGuide.com podcast, and they provide meal deliveries, fantastic meal deliveries. So I'm going to include the link for Homestyle Direct. Is there anything else you wanted to add, Lisa, that I didn't mention that services Homestyle Direct provides?
So the remote meals that Homestyle Direct provides fill a necessary need in addition to congregate eating for the person who maybe is eating alone or can't get out of the house. Each meal provides the quality ingredients and food groups that are required with the new dietary guidelines, and it is another option for people to get the required nutrients.
Yeah, very turnkey, very turnkey. And Kelly, did you want to share a little bit about yourself and your company?
Yeah, basically we do work with Homestyle Direct, and we do some nutrition counseling with seniors, and helping them manage whatever chronic disease, chronic illness, or even some of their activities of daily living, and help them make choices within meals that they have available, whether it is the medically tailored Homestyle Direct meals or a congregate meal, or they're going to the grocery store, but helping them find these important nutrients in their diet, and help them manage their diseases or meet their nutrient needs.
Yes, because we all know that nutrition is a big part of some of the chronic I'm not even sure I'm saying that, diseases that people have, that can be a big game changer over medications and treatments and things like that. That can be a lifestyle change that can really manage some of those diseases for a better quality of life, which I think is the most important at the end of the day. So, yeah.
Absolutely. We want people to feel as good as they can and have the quality of life they deserve.
100%. Couldn't said it better myself. Thank you so much, ladies. I really, really appreciate this time with you today. I hope our listeners were able to gain some additional knowledge and some helpful tips. I know I definitely did. I'm going to be buying some chia seeds real soon. But thank you so much. And if you are listening and you enjoyed this episode, we have over 120 episodes available anywhere you listen to music, Spotify, Apple, Good Pods, you name it, you can find us and subscribe. Follow us and subscribe. Thank you so much. Thanks for listening.